I'm Tony from Fix Manufacturing, and we make compact, lightweight trail tools for riding bikes. We also actually have a business making snowboard, skateboard, surf tools, outdoor tools as well. But what we mostly focus on is the tool that you're actually going to bring with you. Not so much of an emphasis on the home mechanic. We're about portability, lightweight. Kind of our motto or our mantra is the best tool that you can have is the tool that's with you. So we try to do our best to really make sure things are super lightweight and highly portable. Throw them in your pocket and never be without them. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. So we do all the design and product development here. We have sourcing overseas, but we actually also produce some of the carry product here locally in Orange County. So what I mean by that is we have belts and holsters that go in backpacks or waist packs that would carry the tool to just kind of make it easier than taking it in and out of a pocket. And a lot of that stuff's just produced locally right here in California. We're probably less than 10 people total. We've got, of course, myself that's full-time, Dylan Vanek, who's a local enduro rider who does all my product assembly. And then I've got a partner who's an engineer that does a lot of the 3D CAD and 3D printing, like prototyping for us. And we're involved in other projects outside of Fix as well. We actually, just across the street here in Laguna Canyon, we have Laguna Canyon Art School, and we employ a couple graphic designers kind of on an internship basis. And so they help with a lot of things like packaging and art and, even down to social media and things like that. So yeah, I mean, in total, it's we've got a collective of about probably 6 to 8 people that pretty much handle the brand soup to nuts.
What led you to start Fix Manufacturing? What's sort of your history?
Yeah, my background, I've always been involved in product creation. I was actually an engineer through college, but I didn't really go the engineering route. I kind of landed more in soft goods. I was doing footwear, bags, accessories for Oakley for a lot of years. And so I was kind of in and out of the industry. I sort of landed in this accessories space, I was never making bikes. I was never making, say, eyewear. I was not really but I wanted to be in action sports, but I wasn't always in hard goods. And so I sort of felt what do we need, right? What can I do? What can I bring? What problem can I solve? And I just sort of felt like a lot of the tools, whether it be for snowboarding or bike, or surfing, a lot of stuff was just big and clunky and heavy. And oftentimes you wouldn't take it with you because it just was, it'd rattle around in your pocket or it'd rattle around in your pack. And it was just, I just felt like it could be improved. These things just started around as ideas, and then the ideas kind of start landing on paper, and then the paper, starts getting refined into, 3D CAD. And then, and the next thing you know, you're making 3D printed prototypes, and then you're talking to factories and you're actually using this stuff. And before you know it, you're like, whoa, I'm kind of doing this. What's the next step? Do I quit my job? Do I, And so in 2016, we did a Kickstarter campaign that was successfully funded, and that's how we got off the ground. One thing we did to kind of set ourselves apart early on was we didn't just think about, we want these lighter weight, more compact tools that are easier to carry. We also want to think about actually how they're carried, right? And so, a lot of times people are just, putting their tool in their backpack, but then we were noticing, less and less people are wearing a backpack to just go out and do an hour ride or whatever. They're wearing a waist pack or they're not wearing anything. So it's either going to go in their pocket or maybe on a waist pack. And what's that like? And how can that experience be improved? And so what we did was we created a system where, the tool interfaces with the holster, and in such a way that it can't just eject, if you crash or whatever, it's not going to just fly out, whether you're snowboarding in the snowboard park or whether you're, dirt jumping or whatever. So the first thing we designed was a belt, which really took off kind of in snowboarding. But, you look at cycling and you realize, a lot of people aren't wearing a belt, right? So then we created, a holster that would go on a backpack or a waist pack. And so you can get to your tool super fast. And, for a lot of the riders that are putting the tool now in the bike, which we're also working on, by the way, the challenge with that is then you might have multiple bikes and you're switching bikes and you forget, oh, my tool's on the other bike, but it's not on this bike or whatever. So as long as you're kind of wearing the tool, then you're not going to forget it. So that's been kind of our philosophy from the beginning, is to try to solve that idea, or I guess that problem around how are you going to carry it?
What's your most recent product? You have some new stuff, right?
Yeah, so we have some new products. I'd say late last year, 2021, we launched what we call the mountain bike field kit. And the idea there was, you get to you get to the trailhead, on time to meet your friends, and maybe you didn't have the time you needed to like lube your chain, air up your tires, do all those things that you should do the night before that nobody ever does. And so it's like, you might not want to work on your bike with this little compact, rinky-dink tool that's really kind of for an emergency. So what are some things we can do to just make that experience of starting your ride a little bit easier? So, we created this little bag that we call the mountain bike field kit that has, lube, it's got, maybe some brushes to kind of brush off the chain. Of course, it's got a little rag. It's got a place to carry some spare parts. Like you might get to the trailhead and you notice like you've got a bolt loose on your cleat, and so, carry some extra cleats, carry some extra screws for those cleats, and so it just solves a lot of those, the problems around like, being organized and being ride ready at the trailhead, which is kind of that, it's not really for the home mechanic and not necessarily something you're going to put in your pack and take out while you're riding because it's heavy. But it's a nice set of like, full-size pedal wrench in case you're swapping pedals between bikes, things like that you wouldn't always, you probably might already keep in your truck or van, but who knows where it is and it's not organized. And so it's just a really nice kit. Also includes a little booklet that we call the Mountain Bike Field Guide that actually has a place to write down, what tire pressure have you been running lately? Are you adjusting it at all between bikes? What about your suspension settings? Like what's your rear shock pressure? What's your, fork pressure? A lot of people might have that on the phone or jot it down on a piece of paper somewhere. And then when you go to check it, for your next ride, you're like, I don't remember what it was. And next thing you know, like the pack's already leaving. And, so just to kind of help keep everyone organized, that's been a really good product for us. Another product that we just launched, which was a little bit out of our wheelhouse, but I think, as we expand the catalog, it actually makes sense around what we did with the mountain bike field kit, which was this idea of like ride readiness, right? And portability, and maybe, you're riding out of a van or a truck and not always out of your front door. So everyone, might carry a floor pump or leave a floor pump in the truck, and floor pumps are kind of clunky and they don't store well and whatever. So we have a USB charging digital pump with a digital gauge on it, and you basically, install the hose right onto the valve. It reads the tire pressure immediately. You just dial in what your target tire pressure is. You hit go. You can leave it there, and then now go and put on your helmet, put on your gloves, do whatever you need to do to get ready for your ride, and it'll stop once it hits that target pressure. Go do the other tire. So it's kind of it just makes your whole ride start experience like completely different. And at least for me and like Dylan and like some of the people that were using him early on, like I have not touched my floor pump in months. And I expect, this will be, sort of like the wave of the future. But yeah, that's been an exciting product for us, and it's been really well received. And I expect before we know it, everyone's going to have one.